Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I'm honored to have Gib the Kid with me. Gib is a photographer and wardrobe curator, and one of the things I think you're going to hear in his story today is how connections can lead to opportunity. So, Gib, thanks so much for being on today.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
You betcha. So to start your journey, growing up, you were playing athletics and really enjoyed football. So talk a little bit about what got you involved in athletics and what you loved about the sport of football.
Yeah, so I would say that my older brother had an impact. He played sports, and honestly, anything that he would do, it looked cool, so I would want to do it too. But other than that, yeah, I really like playing every sport. I like trying everything, and yeah, I just really stuck with football at the end, and just really did that in high school, and that was like kind of like just the main sport that I wanted to focus on.
Yeah. Now, while you're in high school, you pick up a camera at 16. Talk a little bit about why you did it and what you fell in love with the camera.
So the real reason why I did it was my friend would play on a 7-on-7 team, and they would have these dope videos. It's Midwest Boom. And as a lineman, there's no 7-on-7 for us.
Yeah.
So I was like, what am I gonna do this off season? I was doing shot put. That was cool, but is it really cool? And I'm watching, he's traveling state to state every month at least, playing with this team, and they're on YouTube and this and that. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, do you think I can, if I can help around or just travel with you? And he's like, yeah, let me ask the guy that runs the video stuff. Maybe you can join in, and maybe they need some help. So they did. I actually emailed them, and the guy that does the video, like the intern at the time, actually denied me. So when I asked my friend, he asked the guy that actually like runs it, and they brought me in, and I was just recording and doing photography for them.
I love it. The intern was afraid you were about to lose his job, like he had to shoot you
Yeah.
down, didn't want it to get stolen. Now,
Yep.
now with that, I think part of, photography and, videography, which I know very little about relative to what you know,
Mhm.
is everyone has a style and different events require different styles, right? Like what you would do in sports is probably different than what you'd do for a wedding. So talk a little bit about how you started to learn that and kind of figuring out your style and what you like to show.
Yeah, so I like to show kind of a story behind the song.
Hmm.
So I'm really picky on the song. I think it gives the best for video, If I'm doing a video, I wanna pick a good song that matches the vibe and really has a lot of like high points. So
Yeah.
like if it's an intense play, it'll hit the high point on the beat. And I really look into for the music. And I learned a lot from the guy that hired me at first was Elliot from Midwest Boom. And he really put me under his wing and taught me everything, taught me the basics at least. And then, yeah, and then I took that and went to YouTube, and YouTube became my best friend. And that's what I give the most advice to. Like if people like when people ask me like, "Oh, hey, how do I do this and that?" I'm like, there are thousands of videos on YouTube that show how to do it step by step
Yep.
rather than me texting you. And that's my best advice when people ask me. Not that I don't want to help, but
Yeah.
I'm just like YouTube, it's just hands-on. You can pause the video whenever you want, you can see it. And yeah.
Absolutely. Now, with that, one thing I want to highlight in your story there, because I think it's abnormal. So many people are trying to figure out, well, what can I do to get paid today, right? And I don't know, maybe you did get paid, maybe you didn't, but it sounded like you're at least from the get-go willing to at least volunteer your time, right? Even if you didn't get paid, it sounded like that was something you were just wanting to do. So talk about being willing to, step into something, even though it's a very potentially delayed gratification thing, because hey, I'm doing this because I want to learn or I want to get better at something, not because I'm going to make X amount of dollars per hour.
Yeah. I feel like if you really enjoy what you're doing, at the start, you should know like, all right, I'm not gonna start off right away. I'm not gonna start off with the highest pay. In my opinion, I was in high school. I was 16 when I started. I knew I wasn't going to get paid anything
Yeah.
much. But I did get, get to travel with the guys, hang out with the guys, make connections. And that's all I really care for, at the moment. So I would say I always give people, I always tell them it doesn't matter how much you get paid to start, just do it. I was recording little league stuff before, like it's just whatever gets you paid, doesn't even matter how much,
Yep.
as long as it gives you experience and you can work on your craft and perfect it, then that's what matters. And like I said, it doesn't matter what you film. I was just lucky to already go onto a place that has a platform.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I'd never really cared about the pay, because I knew this is something that I needed to get better at. So I just took anything and I ran with it, and I wanted to perfect my craft.
I love that. Now, a second thing, I think so many times we create stories and narratives about why it's not us, right? You could have said, I don't know how to shoot film. I don't know the first thing about this, right? You could also say, I don't have the best camera, right? So I got to wait until I have the money to buy the camera and then I'll get started. And I
Yep.
think for so many things in life, we're talking about it in, your photography and videography world, but so many people are sitting here, thinking about doing something, but they've got, 19 reasons why not. And it's like, sometimes you just got to have the one reason why to start. So talk about that for you, being willing to learn something new, maybe not having the best equipment yet, but just being willing to get started.
Yeah, so I just wanted, some hobby, really. And I actually didn't have my own camera until 20 2021, maybe.
Okay.
I just didn't have my own equipment. And I was lucky enough to use theirs.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did whatever I needed to do to work. If it was, I've used a little camera compared to like a bigger camera that is like mirrorless lens and just stuff like that. Um, I would say that yeah, you just gotta use anything you can, use all your resources. I used all mine, and luckily, I was able to purchase my own camera when I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this more serious. And I started to do it more serious once some clips started going viral. And I was like, oh, I actually like how that is, and people are giving me feedback in the comments, and people are getting reposted, and yeah. So I would say that was kind of the push for it once I started seeing people connect with my own videos.
Love it. Now, as you're out on the, 7-on-7 scene, I'm sure with your friend, traveling across the country and you getting to travel across the country, you probably may start making some connections and meeting people. So talk a little bit about that, and just meeting people. And I'll maybe add this as something you can bring up. Getting to know someone before you're wanting something from the someone, and just kind of how that can flow.
Yeah, so in the 7-on-7 world, I feel like you see a little bit of everything. You see the 5 stars, you see the kids who don't have any stars but that are grinding,
Yeah.
making plays. I would say, yeah, those events, I did meet a lot of cool people, a lot of people that are really good at the sport. And yeah, I was trying to connect with the athletes really. And my main goal, I would say, when I was doing it at the time was to like shoot for one specific athlete or maybe a couple during the actual season.
Yeah.
So that was my plan, which worked because I did follow at least one of the guys. So I would say, yeah, it was good connections. And it was just like, I mean, now that I'm curating stuff, like now I see all the guys that were once kids, now they're in college and now they have NIL money and now they're asking me to, oh, what do you have in stock or what do you have for me? And it's pretty cool. So I would say that it all paid off, working those late night Sundays, filming like a 10-year-old, 7-on-7.
Yeah.
It was probably really boring, but now they're grown up and now they're trying to spend their NIL.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit about, the transition from just learning it to it really becoming a passion for you and then kind of a passion into a business.
Yeah, so like I said, once I started doing it, I was just doing it for fun. And then I had some companies post my stuff like House of Highlights, Overtime. They started posting my videos, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is really cool because I saw the numbers, and I was like, okay, this is really cool because people are starting to comment, like I said earlier, and give me feedback. So I like that, and I was like, okay, I think I can do this like on my own, or like at least like have my own thing. So then um, I was just doing 7-on-7 still, and then I was like, this upcoming season, I need to follow someone. So then I followed one of my guys, Michael Love, at Nazareth Academy. So when I did that, it was like I followed them the whole season. They won the state championship. It was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
I only missed, I think, like the first two games, but other than that, I followed them the whole season. I made videos weekly, and they were to share it under what was it? The school's like Twitter.
Yeah.
So everybody was on that, and it was super dope. It was super dope, and I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Now, as you're kind of growing in your business and connecting with folks that way, how did you continue to, make new connections as your, videos are going, viral and getting picked up by these larger, we'll just say, channels?
Yeah, so I mean it was my first viral clip was me yelling at the top of my lungs because some move happened, and I was like, wow, that was pretty insane. So I I recorded it all, and it was a really good move. And then over time, I think they just asked the page. They're like, "Hey, can we post this and that?" And then that went from there to House of Highlights posting it. And then yeah, it was I was in school actually when that happened, so I was just like showing, my friends. I was like, "Dude, this is awesome." Because I've been doing it after that. It was probably 3 years at the time, and we just never had a viral clip. The
Yeah.
guy before us had one, or the guy before me had one, and that was on one of those talk shows on ESPN, which was pretty cool. So I was like, okay, that has some numbers. So I was like, I need to match that, or I need to hopefully get there, and I did. And after that, it was like, I'm gonna take this more serious because I want more of that, and I want people knowing me because of the videos.
Yeah. Now, in your experience, how much of the social media and, viral video effect is based off of kind of like the art behind the video versus, getting into the right connection, right? I feel like there's a pretty good balance on those things.
Yeah, so I would say mm, I I feel like my edits and all that weren't nothing crazy. Like I said, I work on the song really
Yeah.
until it gets copyrighted maybe. So I really work on that matching the vibe, and it's really the player. I've had tapes where, people ask me, "Hey, can you come record?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll record," but like nothing really happens. So now it's my job to make them look good.
Yep.
And for that, it's like, okay, now I need to switch this up. Now I got to change this whole video. And maybe they had one good play, so I have to really focus on that one play.
Yeah. Now, as you mentioned earlier, hey, it was almost 3 years before I had a clip go viral. I don't know the math behind how many videos you created, but my guess is hundreds.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, they say, I'd love to be doing what Gib does, but they're not willing to do what Gib's done, right? They're not willing to say, man, I could make 400 videos and not have a single one go viral, and I would be just fine with that. Most
Yeah.
people are like, hey, I want to post 20 videos and hopefully one of those will go viral. And say, well, odds are probably not. I mean, it's just you need more at bats, you need more content. So talk a little bit about that for you and just how you're using that now in your social media space.
Yeah, so obviously that wasn't my intention to like go viral. I
Yeah.
just like I said, I started off doing it for fun and then it did, and then I was like, all right, you know what? I need to do this. And I just wanted to really like do more of that. So after that it kind of pushed. So then I was starting to do that, and I don't know. I guess like maybe the talent wasn't there or something, but
Yeah.
it wasn't working. So then I was just like doing my own thing, and then I recorded that's when I did it like during the season, I would say.
Yep.
And then that really helped me because it was a full season of real football, not just 7-on-7.
Yep.
So once we did that, it was really good because now it was just consistent. It wasn't going viral every time, but now it's just like I had a whole season under my belt. And then I used that to start applying to bigger spots and actually taking it as a career. And yeah, in that whole season, I wasn't paid, but I didn't care. It was a once a week. It was the best team I think in Illinois at the time. So I wanted to really just have a reel ready and just show people that I could do this, and I did do it for a whole season with the best in the state. So that was my real deal thing, and I got a job from it. So and I started to work at the University of Illinois, Champaign.
Love that.
Yeah.
Now, as you've kind of grown and progressed, in entering into, the University of Illinois and starting to work there. Talk a little about, once again, kind of new world, but same idea, right? It's about connections, it's getting to know players, yeah, hey, I want to help you any way I can, and hopefully this can be mutually beneficial at some point. Talk a little bit about, that for you.
Yeah, so when I got to the University of Illinois, um, I didn't know what I was gonna do because I wasn't going to the actual university.
Okay.
I was just working for them.
Yeah.
So then I was like, all right, I'll take this time. I'll just probably take a couple classes at their junior colleges. So I did that, and then once I did that, it was like my foot was in the door, I was in, and it was more so just learning. It was more than just me holding a camera on game day. It was now I'm working a broadcast.
Hmm.
Now I'm working women's gymnastics. It
Yeah.
went from just football to, okay, now this opened up a door to many other doors. And it was like I was doing sports, I was doing broadcasts. It was just a lot. And I learned a lot, and I did everything, and I think I did the least of actually recording. So like I feel like it switched everything, but I was happy enough to do everything of a broadcast and live footage show. So yeah, it was cool. I did, like I said, every sport, and football I never really even recorded because I was just doing everything else.
Yeah, I love it. Now, I always feel like the people that can run the best businesses are oftentimes people that understand every aspect of it, right? And that's one, because you know all the parts of it, but it's two, because as you're hiring or as you have different people you're working with, you can have a lot of grace and empathy for the situation. Like, hey, I know this job probably isn't the exact thing you wanted to do today. I know it's kind of sucks, but it's important, right? And you can put yourself in those shoes. So talk a little bit about, growing and developing that way.
Yeah, so I would say, like I said, when I went to the when I had the job at U of I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I knew that I was just going to be a student associate, really. And like I said, I was doing stuff that I've done for the first time. And it was like, okay, now I'm how do you say it? Producing a whole show, producing a
Yeah.
whole soccer game that I haven't watched soccer in so long. Like I don't know the cuts, I don't know any of that. So it was really a learning experience, and I was ready for that because that's what I wanted to do. So like I said, I was taking shifts. It didn't matter to me. I wanted to work with everything. There was times where my friends would come for the weekend, and I was like, "Oh, I can't do much because I'm working the next day," or like, "I'm
Yeah.
working today, I can't do it." And there'll be days where I'll do a football game on a Saturday morning, and then I have to go straight there to gymnastics. And I was really busy, but like I said, I was up for it. It was something that I wanted to do. Um, the job wise, obviously, there's times where, we win a big football game and I really don't want to go to this volleyball game, but I signed up for it, and in my career, that's what I wanted to do. So it was just like, all right, I gotta do stuff. A lot of the times you're not gonna want to do the stuff, and
Yep.
but it all paid off because I was working, and yeah, like I said, the money part didn't matter, but it was more so like I wanted to do everything that a live broadcast would need, just so in case if someone were to call me right now and they ask, "Hey, can you do this?" I'll probably be able to do it just because I have experience in it. So I would say yeah, you're gonna do stuff you don't want to do, but like you should do it.
Yep. I love it. Now, for you, talk a little bit about the progression from college then to working with pro athletes and, really what you're doing today.
Yeah, so after college, Um, I came back because of COVID, because there like we weren't filming. There was no sports. There's nothing to film. So then I came back home, and then I just started looking at jobs. I was like, okay, now I have a couple years under my belt with a 7-on-7 team, just from home to a college with different roles. I was like, I can probably look for another job. So then I'm looking at other jobs. I'm looking at other states too, and then I get a job with Overtime, uh the the what's it called, the social media page that shared me first.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's do it. It was just a videographer, but it was in Los Angeles, and it was like, okay, I'm in Chicago, so this is going to be a huge step. Like, I'll
Yeah.
do it. So then once I did it, I was filming and taking pictures of the best athletes, high school athletes in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I had a couple guys. There are a lot of 5 stars there. The competition level from where I came from, Illinois, to LA was through the roof. These guys are college athletes basically, and it was super dope experience. So I started doing that, and then I reached out to one of the stores out there, and they were shopping. One of my athletes were shopping with them, and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, like, this stuff's pretty dope. Like, I see you guys do a lot of content in store. Like, let me know if you guys need any help. So I think I hit them up in August, and it kind of just like nothing happened. And then in
Yeah.
October, my phone rang and the guy asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to work this pop-up? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, sure. I have no experience in it, but I know how to, like like a vlog style. I was like, I don't know. I've never done it, but I know the concept of it, and it's around athletes. Like, I'll do it. So we did a pop-up for the Seattle Seahawks. And that was like my first time working there, and I was just a video guy. So when I was doing that video stuff, it was just like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then it was on a Saturday. I showed him the video on Tuesday. He asked to, maybe edit some stuff, this and that, but he loved it. And he gave me a job right there to do content for the store. So now I'm working weekends, filming athletes on Friday nights, and then Saturdays we're filming NFL players shop. So it was a cool experience for that, and I did that for that whole season. And yeah, that was like kind of my entry into the pro level shopping, I guess. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I love it. Now with that, as you mentioned, hey, I essentially reached out, right? So you took the initiative, which I think is really important in the story. But two, you were just an eager learner again. So talk about what you learned, working with them and getting into the clothing side of things. Because once again, these are all different styles. It's not like, hey, since I mastered 7-on-7, I'm now good across all realms. It's like, well, no, now I need to get, proficient at this.
Yeah, so luckily my brother comes back into the story. When I was younger, I would follow him a lot. It's my bigger brother, so I always kind of
Yeah.
saw what he did and this and that. And he was into shoes. So I luckily had some knowledge of shoes,
Yeah.
or a really big knowledge of it. But I knew a lot about shoes, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like, there's some shoes here, but they're really clothing, like that's what they're on. Like that's their main focus is clothing. So I didn't know really much of the brands. I knew the names, but I didn't know much. I didn't know what people like. I rarely paid attention to like tunnel fits when these guys are coming in because sometimes they're wearing some other stuff.
Yeah,
But
right.
I was like, from an outside eye, I was like, okay, this is kind of odd. I know about shoes, but I don't know about the clothes, and I don't know like how, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So then, like I said, I just started with the camera and I would do inventory here and there for the store. So I would say, after a couple of weeks, it was like, okay, this is what's hot. And I started, I would record every time an athlete would come into the store or we would do those pop-ups. And it was like, I know how they react to like certain things. And then I started to pick up what they liked. So once I started to pick that up, I was like, okay, I can do this. And then it went from me just being on the camera to me starting to put down the camera when we didn't need to record or when we didn't want to, because that maybe the athlete didn't want to be recorded,
Yep.
but then it was my time to be like, okay, now I can, do this little by little, and maybe you like this, maybe you like that, and then it started to become, having my own clients, and then yeah.
I love it. So talk a little bit about that. Obviously to your point, there are varying styles that are socially cool. There are varying styles that people have that they think are, cool. So talk a little about, helping people figure out which clothes they want to wear, which brands they're gonna, kind of work with, and kind of maybe some of those partnerships even too.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, it all starts with the budget.
Yep.
If you want the hottest stuff and you don't care about the budget or you don't care about the price, then it's kind of easier to work with.
Yeah.
But if you're a basic guy, like I said, a lot of it's price.
Yeah.
So like if you want to just have a long sleeve with some sweats, I can find you the most expensive long sleeve and sweats. Or if you want the nicest jeans or this and that, or you just want a fit that'll match, like I can do that. So I would say, I mean, budget is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And also not having what everybody else has.
Yep.
There's some pieces that brands drop, and let's say they drop tomorrow. It's hot right now. Who's going to be the first one to wear it? Who's going
Yep.
to be the first one with the tunnel? And you don't want to sell the same fit at least to other athletes. So I always try to do that, but I know like at this rate, I know my clients and what they like. So I try to kind of hit that spot where they're like, okay, this is what I'll take, and it's that's how it is. You got to know your clientele, but other than that, yeah.
Now, when you're shopping, doing that, do you usually show up with, hey, here are 4 or 5 different options, and then whichever ones you don't want, we're take back, or do you kind of come in with, this is the one, I think this is your best option, go with it?
Yeah, so when I would do these pop-ups, we would bring a lot of clothes. We would bring almost the whole store,
Yes.
basically the whole store, and at least the hottest brands
Yep.
that we know that they like. So we'd bring that in there, and yeah, there's some hits and misses. There's some times where these guys don't like anything, and there's some times where these guys want everything.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like a gamble.
Yeah.
It's something that you're like, okay, you don't know what they want specifically unless you know a couple guys. So luckily, I would say I was familiar with at least one or two of the guys, and I
Yep.
would ask them like, hey, what do you guys wear? Or like, what do you guys like? So that's what I would do.
Absolutely. And now for you at this point, is that something that you're trying to set up on a monthly basis? Is that something where it's just kind of as needed? How do you kind of handle that?
So for what, the pop-ups?
Yeah.
Or just okay, yeah. So the pop-ups, it was just like it's just whenever a team's in town, really.
Yeah.
So luckily when I was doing in Chicago, but when I was doing in LA, it was the Rams and the Chargers. So one team's playing at SoFi. Unless it's a bye week, I
Yeah.
believe, but
Right. Right.
yeah, I don't think they share that. So at least one team is going to be there. So we just really just hit up the away team and just see we go off their schedules. So then when I came back to Chicago, we are just doing the Bears schedule, so things slowed down because it was like, okay, we don't have to book every week for this. So it definitely slowed down once I was with the Bears or once in Chicago because it was like it was kind of more chill, and now these teams are coming in. I think we had one month where it was only one pop-up,
Yeah.
because and then we've had months where or a month where it was three pop-ups.
Yep.
So yeah, we just go off their schedule, and other than that, yeah, it's really just their schedule. If they have a lot of home games, it's good. If they have a lot of away games, it's like, oh, well, we might travel to Indy with the
Yep.
Colts. So it just depends.
I love it. Now, for you, do you predominantly or only do football, or have you ventured into any of the other sports, basketball, baseball? What's kind of the goal there for you?
So football is really easy because it's once a week.
Yep.
And it's once, and they travel Saturday. They leave Sunday night after the game if they play on Sunday.
Yep.
So it's that, and then but NBA, these guys, I don't know their schedules really, and
Oh
there's
yeah.
only what, maybe 12 guys on the team or something.
Yep.
So that's kind of harder to hit. And baseball, I haven't even tried or anything. I want to maybe, but
They're at least in town for 3 days in a row, you know? I mean, you have
yeah.
your three-game series.
Yeah, so, but a lot of it's the hotel thing,
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know where these guys are at, and if I can't get into contact with one of them, then I'm not gonna take the gamble. What if I book a hotel here and they're not there, or they
Yep.
move, or just stuff like that. So it's really easy with football, but I've even asked like other resellers or other guys, and I'm like, "Do you guys do NBA?" And they're like, "Not really. Like it's kind of hard to get in contact with those guys." I've had some MLB guys shop, mostly just like the local guys.
Yeah.
I was working at a store in Chicago, we would have some of the guys. But other than that, I would say NBA is hard, but NFL's I know it like the back of my hand. So,
I love it. Well, good, man. Well, any other stories you want to share, any other pivotal moments that have been impactful to you and where you're at today?
I'm trying to think. Uh, I need like a specific moment that is there any moment that you want or do you want to hear? I'm trying to think of one. Uh, Not really. I mean, I've seen someone come to the store and I wasn't even recording. So we had a hoop. We had a hoop in LA. We had a hoop and I was just shooting with one of the guys that we knew, and he was like a regular.
Yeah.
He's on the Dolphins. I don't want to say no names because I don't want anybody to love you. Oh, you're saying how much I spent.
You're good.
We're just shooting the hoops, and I see my boss at the time, and he has a mound of clothes right here with the other guy. And I personally didn't know because, like I said, this was probably a couple months in, and I'm like, that's a lot of clothes. Like I should probably be recording that because I was recording a little bit of when the guy that I was shooting hoops with when he was doing it, but it was more so because like our connection. So I was like, all right, you know what? I think this guy is going crazy. So I picked up the camera and I started filming it, and oh man, he spent like, I think it was 80K or something in one, or I think it was like 87K in one shop
Yeah.
in one day. I think he had to like swipe like three times. And I was just like, holy crap. Like
Yeah,
that,
you're right.
yeah, that was like, welcome to LA. These guys are legit.
There's
And
levels to this thing, right?
yeah, and I've seen, like I said, I'm not gonna say any names, but I've seen the highest paid, the most popular guy spend $900. It was
Yep.
like from someone that I didn't know at the time to someone that I did know, and I'm like, wow, like there's levels, and there's this is crazy.
I love it, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you sharing your journey and excited to continue to follow your story. And 3 years from now, we'll probably be doing this again and talking about all the growth and the opportunities that have come from it.
Yeah, for sure.